how that happened. It just does. Seems like everybody knows everybody. That could also be a curse and a bad thing at the same time. Yep. All right. Welcome to episode 18 of the Film Planet podcast. I'm your host, Nadal.
Jamal.
And today we're going to be breaking down, just like our title says, the Ready Player One movie, which we just got back from a couple hours ago. Saw it in IMAX at the Warren Theater here in Oklahoma. And just kind of, our typical review, just, our thoughts on it, what we liked about it, what we didn't like, what we thought this meant or that didn't mean, whatever you can think of.
It's his most anticipated movie of the year.
It's my number one most anticipated movie, so I'm going to do my best to rein it in.
So we'll let him go first.
Yeah.
And I'll rein him in because we don't want him
ranting or anything.
Yeah.
No, so I mean, really, just say, because I know we kind of talked about it a little bit while we were eating. I wasn't disappointed by this movie, and the fact that it was, because if you've read the book and you watch the movie, it is literally about as true as a statement can be. This is a movie based off of the book. It borrows elements from it, takes stories, parts from it, but it does change a lot. Just how things happen, how they meet, etc., so on and so forth, which to me wasn't a bad thing. If you read the book is good and you can enjoy it, but it doesn't. You can read it and go like that's not going to translate to film very well. In this movie, this is Spielberg going, well, we got to change this, and this, and I think in my opinion, it changed everything for the better overall. Just the character development, what I thought was a little bit more thought out than it was in the book, which is something that it felt rushed. Like for example, I don't want to really spoil anything, but it's the character development was a little bit better than it was in the book. Overall, I liked all the little references. A lot of it was visual references as well, not verbal ones. Down to like Master Chief's assault rifle, the chainsaw gun from Gears of War, were in the movie. Things like that. Han Solo's blasters, I think, was in it as well. Small little things like that I really enjoyed about the movie overall. That got me excited. I found myself kind of smirking or smiling at little things here and there. That I saw in the movie.
That's it?
I mean, there's more, but, we have the review that.
I enjoyed the movie. The best way I put the movie is the Steph Curry of movies. The analogy I'm using, I know most people, if you're not a basketball fan, what I'm saying is Steph Curry kind of revolutionized the 3-point shot in basketball. Like, he can pull up really far, so to speak, and hit it. Now, he's good at it. But other people trying to do it now, and it kind of watered down the game of basketball. So the point I'm trying to make to you is, this movie to me, it was like it was like a tug and pull between those two things. Me being a geek, nerd, whatever you want to call it, so to speak, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the references. I enjoyed, like, it had a lot of references, and it had a horror movie that I think was kind of one of the coolest scenes in the movie. Mm-hmm. And that horror movie they used is my favorite horror movie, and I'm not even big on horror movies. But it's just like, sometimes I felt like the nostalgic value was a pro for the movie and a con. Sometimes the nostalgic value is what kept you entertained in the movie, but also the nostalgic value kind of killed a lot of character development. Or I'm going to sum it up like this, and I'm going to toss it back to Nadal. A lot of the times, the pop culture references, which supposed to be trivial, took precedent over the actual story. And I'll continue more on that later.
I'll actually kind of add what you just said. The book had that exact same problem. There'll be times where we're in the middle of a story element, and Wade's character will literally go into a monologue rant about the 80s reference that they're talking about. And the movie kind of really just did the exact same thing. whenever her or him and Artemis were actually investigating something, not to give away anything, they're just investigating something together. They both kind of, instead of talking about what they were investigating, started ranting about other things that took place during that time period. Um, which, and I get you have to have that there because that helps flesh out the characters themselves. But like you said, in that case, it helped them. But then there was other cases in the movie where it was just it didn't serve a purpose. It kind of was almost like a hindrance. Really, it was like, why is this really now? Why is this happening now? Um, and the part I'm talking about, it was a slower part of the movie, but there's parts of the movie where it start ramping up and they're talking about stuff, and it's kind of like, why is that's awkward conversation to be having right now? Um, but for me, like it, and this is, and forgive me, man, this really is just because I really am excited about this movie and I thoroughly enjoyed it. It was easy for me to ignore that stuff, but when it comes to reviewing it, I'm in agreement with you. If it's a negative impact, it's a negative impact, whether I was able to ignore it in the movie or not. In the overall scheme of it, that ended up being a negative hindrance to it. Um, Something I did like. This was kind of a reference to today's culture, really. As much as this is a '80s filled reference and stuff like that in there, is because I was not really reading reviews, but like comments on Twitter and stuff. People were saying that a lot of the characters felt rushed. You have to understand these people are recluses, really. Like they don't go out; they play video games all day long, and their video game characters are ver- more outgoing versions of themselves. And in today's society, a lot of people will, fall in love or become really good friends through the internet, through Twitter, through, YouTube, video games, online Call of Duty communities, things like that. They fall in love. I mean, if you watch a Twitch stream every now and again, there's people who are in the chat who will say, "Well, I found my wife here in the Twitch chat. We went out together because we met here in the Twitch chat."
But don't you think the story is doing like that's cool and all, but it wasn't it kind of also showing a cautionary tale of not being
Hmm.
to indulge into fantasy, being a part
Hmm.
of the world itself.
Yeah, well, that's
Like
what I'm saying. Is go ahead.
it's a thin line, but I think what the movie is trying to show, there's a thin line between escapism and trying to dodge your reality.
Exactly.
No, you have to face what you need to face in the real
Exactly.
world. You need to have a what's the word? A pulse of what's going on in your real world versus always trying to escape to this place. But at the same time, it also showed that at the same time, like it's okay to have be escape for a little while, but
Yeah,
you can't become overindulged in it.
and that's what I'm saying. I'm not saying that's a complete positive thing. Always escape whenever you can. Sometimes you got to sit down. You got to face your problems. And they didn't really explore it too much in the movie. Outside of I think it's like literally one or two scenes with his aunt and her boyfriend. The Oasis was a place for him to escape from what was seemingly set up in the movie as a not so good home situation for him.
But the slums too,
Exactly, yeah, and
the
I think
stacks.
the stacks as they call it, which in the book there's story elements for that, but it's not doesn't serve any purpose to explain it. And he would use the Oasis as a way to escape. One thing I did have a problem with it is whenever the opening credits, whenever he's walking down, he's literally descending the stacks, to go to his rig, is they show everyone in their virtual reality, but like the real versions of them. It doesn't actually show them in their like what they might look like and like what personas are they taking over.
Right.
Which that's just a nitpick. That's not a knock. It's just a nitpick that I noticed in there. Like as he's explaining this world, they're not showing us the world. He's you know what I mean. But that was a nitpick of mine.
Mhm.
Plus Spielberg is known for basically blocking scenes together. Between different worlds and seeming them. It's something I think could have easily been put in there, but it wasn't there. That was a nitpick for me. Um, but no, like I agree with you. Like you have to be able to face your problems, which, and if you really look at it, they kind of did eventually face their issues later on because the more and more outside of the big giant war and stuff like that.
But they faced it, but I felt like
Could have been explored more.
it was kind of rushed in parts.
Hmm.
Like I knocked Pacific Rim for this, so it's just like dude lost his sister and was like, okay. I mean, the kid lost his aunt, the lead character Wade Watts, and he was kind of like, all right,
Well, that's what I'm saying is that I feel like that issue could have been solved better had it they explored the actual relationship between him and his aunt, where they kind of split down the middle. Like she seemed like she was a real bad person towards him, but then she seemed like she still kind of loved him. There's a scene in there that you'll know. I don't like I said, I don't really want to spoil anything,
yeah.
but there's a scene like it's almost like okay, does she like him or does she not? Because the boyfriend for sure. I don't think anyone cared when what happened to him happened, but I get what you're saying. Is something so horrible just happened to a character, and it seemed to not phase him at all.
What I did like it's a race scene for the first key. It's like Willy Wonka in the Chocolate Factory. They gotta find 3 keys to
Hmm.
become the owner of this world.
Yeah,
So I like that scene. That was really cool.
it was awesome. It was really cool.
Like
It was heart pounding. It was intense.
Akira, they had Kanada's bike.
Yep.
I mean, I know anybody know me personally know I come hard at anime, but I love Akira. Like
Yeah.
Akira is like so to see the bike, because at first I thought it was a Tron Light Cycle. And I'm like, nah, it can't be the Tron Light Cycle because that's Disney. Then I looked, and sure enough, one of the characters said, that's the bike from Akira.
Yeah.
I just I was geeking. That scene that was had me geeking out. I really
Yeah.
enjoyed
There's a
that.
lot of scenes like that too, where it might go over your head, but there's gonna be that one thing, and they're like, "Oh man, I know what that is," and it'll get you kind of like you'd be like, "Oh, that's actually really cool to see that on the screen." Um, for me, like I said, the Halo assault rifles, Gears of War chainsaw gun, the chainsaw even revved up as she pulled it out.
Mm.
Stuff like that for me was like that was really cool. There's a scene. This isn't a spoiler because it's in the trailer, but the Gundam, the way that's recalled and everything, um, and
Yeah,
just
that was cool too.
yeah, it's really cool because that Gundam is actually referenced very early on in the movie. It's referenced really early on. Um, but it's just small little tidbits like that that are peppered in that make this movie really good. I was actually fearful at first that all this movie would be was you either get the reference or you don't, and that's about it. There'd be no substance to it, which Spielberg, was able to carefully go in there with his guiding hand and put together a really solid story. I like the changes he made to find the keys in the movie that were different in the book. They're all really different in the book. It's just it was really good planning for him because that race car scene was not in the book at all, like not even a little bit. And had it not been, I could like knowing what both happens. The race car scene was the better of the two, more exciting. It leads to it kind of you get a little bit more glimpse at all to some of the characters in
And
there.
it did a cheat code.
But no,
Game Genie. It teased the Game Genie. It did a cheat code. That was cool. But
but
yeah.
yeah, the movie was overall like it was a blast. Is how the movie's a blast to watch. Especially if you're a kid that grew up in the '80s, and then even if you're a kid who grew up in the '90s. I mean, it has the Iron Giant in it, Gundam, um, Ninja
She
Turtles.
used the Iron Giant to kill. I just found that kind of awkward, but that's just me. I understand it's an avatar,
Yeah.
but I mean, when you think of an avatar, I don't know anybody who thinks of the Iron. I'm gonna use the Iron Giant to kill people.
Well,
The fight, the combat. I just
in the so
it was Ultraman in the book. Wasn't Ultraman? It was Ultraman in the book.
in the book,
I think it was
the
Ultraman.
Gundam was Ultraman in the book.
Oh yeah, the
He
Gundam was.
uses Ultraman, but they switched it out for Gundam in the
Yeah,
movie. There's something I want to reference. Iron Giant is in the book, but he's never used. He
yeah.
is literally he's swiping through a menu and says Iron Giant and keeps swiping, and ultimately picks the Japanese Spider-Man robot from the Spider-Man TV show from like the 80s. That's the robot he ends up like in the book. One of the keys, once you unlock it, you get to choose from a list of all the robots ever made in like cinematic history.
He didn't choose the Iron Giant. Why? Because the Iron Giant is a peaceful giant. But that's off the movie.
Yeah.
Continue.
And in the movie, the Iron Giant isn't something they pick. H is actually created the Iron Giant. He is known as a modder, and modded the Iron Giant into the system, and that's how they were able to use that. There's another robot in there that just remember the Iron Giant thing, how he's going through a menu. You'll understand that later because I don't want to give it away because it's actually a really cool scene when it happens at the end. But the Gundam scene was cool. I don't care who you are, if you didn't enjoy that little Gundam fight scene, it was like basically ripped straight from one of the anime scenes. Like it was just real fast, real cool looking. It was awesome. Overall really, really cool. Let's see. I'm trying to think. Like Frogger was in it. I'm just trying to name off. This is really
well. I'm not going. I want y'all to see the movie and get the references to yourself
because there's something in there for everybody.
I enjoyed it. I'm not gonna say I had a blast like Nadal did, but I enjoyed it. Yeah. It's definitely not a bad movie.
Yeah. Oh no. It's not.
Don't go in there like. I just felt like it was it was an enjoyable movie. I'm not gonna sit up here and say like by the end of the year, I can't speak for him, I'm speaking for myself.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna say at the end of the year it probably won't even be in my top 10.
Yeah.
But I'll be lying to say if I didn't enjoy that movie because a lot of that stuff I grew up on.
Mm-hmm.
Like Ninja Turtles, Street Fighter's my favorite game. All that was referenced in the movie.
Overwatch. And because I was also reading on Twitter, a lot of people had a problem with a lot of the references being modernized. And to that I say, first of all, there's legal stuff. So there's stuff they probably just weren't able to get, and you got to replace it with something. Otherwise, you start having a movie that's expected references and you have no references. And then, but you also have a different generation who's going to go see this movie who don't know what a Battletoads is, or you know what I mean? They don't know. It's that simple. So you have a lot of Halo characters, Overwatch, Gears of War, like I mentioned. There's a couple of aliens referencing it. And then there's iconic people that everyone knows. Doesn't matter. It transcends time.
Yeah.
Like Chucky. It's stuff like that's just in the movie. Freddy's in it at one point. You see him for a split second, and Jason.
Why you keep telling stuff? I said
it's in the trailer. I wouldn't give it away. It's in the trailer.
Well, you can barely see Freddy in the trailer, but anyway,
no, you see it. It was obvious.
but
overall, I mean, it was. I liked it. I enjoyed it quite a bit. Ask him. I mean, I was grinning the whole time I was watching the movie.
Yeah. I'm not a hypocrite, so let me say this. I enjoyed this movie a lot more than a lot more than Pacific Rim, and I enjoyed this movie more than Wrinkle in Time. But I can't be a hypocrite. Some of the dialogue was generic, bro. Like some of the dialogue in here was what's up with 2018 and generic dialogue in movies?
I don't think they know it's I think they. I can't explain.
Nah, bro, it's like on the nose generic, like. It's not like generic, like two action people, I'm taking you down, I'm going to kick your bleep bleep, so to speak. It's like, it's almost like intentionally.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I think that they think that it might be hitting, because a lot of the generic dialogue is like delivering a punchline almost sometimes.
Yeah.
A lot of times when you hear the generic dialogue, and this is in all the movies that we're talking, Pacific Rim, Wrinkle in Time, they're supposed to be delivering a punchline to a joke. Or a sarcastic response to something, and it falls flat a lot of the times. I think really that's what it is. I think it's reading is funnier, and then when you see it on the screen, not so much. I don't know why that is. That's just what seems to be happening a lot in these movies.
And where the heroes, what I liked, where the heroes were kind of cunning, creative, and clever. Here. I love that about the heroes. They were all kind of clever people.
They all brought something to the table.
They once they did get together, because they were kind of all on their own, it felt like a team. And they all brought a certain aspect. With that being said, it's like here's an I'm gonna get into all my positives after this. Here's one more negative I have. This was the Oasis in Halliday, what he created, the creator of the Oasis. He had the biggest company. This current company is the second biggest company. The fifth.
They say they're the fifth. They're trying to be the best.
Well, they're trying to be.
They say it's a line.
It's the fifth, and they're playing in the movie, right? I've never seen so many bumbling idiots in tech. It's like they were dumb.
It was the movie was trying to drive home the point that this is a corporate entity. They don't really know how it's done. But what he's trying to say is like, but why even bother with, like, how do they get where they are if they're a bunch of idiots? And I agree with him. I'm 100%. That's the problem the book had. The book didn't make any sense of that. And then in this, they get to something first in the movie. But in the book, they explain how that happened. In the movie, it kind of happened. They say it in a dialogue as something's happening. And you're just like, okay, I guess we're accepting that as a thing now. These people who are always 45 steps behind are now ahead all of a sudden in a dialogue. That's how they're ahead. The dialogue explained by another character in another part of the war universe said, oh, now it's this. I could definitely see where that's a problem. It's like maybe make that corporate entity a little bit more scary and imposing if you're gonna set them up to be this, because
make them match wits with your characters.
Exactly.
You want to, of course they're not as smart because these are the protagonists, but you want them to match wits, get a little challenge. They never were challenged by these villains.
The villains never really seemed to be winning.
Right.
Like at any point. And the whole point of a corporate company is that they always seem to be winning because they throw money at the problem.
That's just how the world we live in now too. Yeah. So, but outside of that, my positives is Spielberg just has a way of capturing magic. And like capturing like magic, like
he's in tune with generations.
He's in tune with generations. He knows his pulse. He knows the pulse on generations, and he knows how to touch them. It's just amazing how he does it, from the the 80s to the 90s to the 2000s, now to,
even the last 5 years.
I mean,
there's references to games
that's why he's the greatest of all time. I mean, he can take mediocre source material, entertaining but mediocre source material, and like Nadal said, elevate it.
Mm-hmm. His guiding hand can make something meh. I'm gonna use the word great here, but I'm just just to what you're saying. He can take something meh and make it great, because it's just the way
he didn't make. I don't know.
I'm not saying the movie's great. I'm just saying.
Well, if it's great to you, I'm just saying.
Well, to me, it is. But I'm talking about from a reviewing standpoint. I'm not saying it is. I'm just saying, as a director, he has that ability.
Right.
He can take something meh and make it better than it ever was. And I think that's a credit to him. I know we're probably gonna sing that song over and over. We are Spielberg fans, but it's something. It's great to see him kind of dabble, because growing up, he's always dabbled in older things that I consume years after they've come out. This is the first time I've seen one of my favorite directors dabble in something more recent to what I know, what I've grown up with, and it's cool to see him play around with that element, when normally I'm used to him playing around with stuff that I didn't grow up with. So it's just cool to see that on the screen for the first time. And it's a lot of fun. But like I said, I think the movie was great. I really enjoyed it. It was a blast. Like I said, it was magical. It was Spielberg really just kind of taking something that's very tech and people might not understand and making it more magical and approachable.
Accessible.
Accessible, yeah, that's the word. I guess the word I'm looking for. Jamal? Like I said, we don't really put numbers on anything or put too much money in that, but if you were to slap a number on it out of 10,
I'll put 7.4.
7.4. I give it 8.5 out of 10.
That's it.
That's 8.5.
You said it was great. I thought you might kick it up a little bit.
Well, for the review, I'm trying to. If
you feel,
if I were to get my personal, like my actual number is like a 9.5.
Are you talking Okay, let's break it down like this for you. This is your most anticipated movie of the year.
Because I don't want to give anyone
in terms of quality. what would you rank it out of 10?
In terms of quality, 9.
And
describe quality.
Wait. So you
Describe
just said 8.5.
But describe quality though. Like,
I'm talking about the film on its merits.
Merits?
Not
no,
entertainment
8.5
value.
then. 8.5 then.
And then your entertainment value was 9.5.
9.5, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, that's really it. I mean, you got anything else you want to add?
I mean, I'm not gonna drag it. I mean, it was a good movie. Yeah. It was a good movie. For me, it was just kind of like, it was a good movie. Like I said, it probably won't be my top 10 of the year, but yeah. I've seen movies that I would rather leave the theater and didn't, could have passed on watching. But I'm glad I saw this.
Yeah,
it ain't like I'm like, dang, I wasted my time. Nah, it's a good, yeah.
And if you're gonna watch it in IMAX, either IMAX or IMAX 3D. This movie lends itself to that screen 100%. I think you're actually doing yourself a disservice not watching it on IMAX. Spend that $2-3 extra and go watch it in IMAX. That's my recommendation. You don't have to take it. I'm sure Jamal agrees with me on this one. The screen for IMAX and that movie, they mesh well together.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah, no, that's all I got.
That's all I have.
Yeah, we'll be back next week. We're watching A Quiet Place, and I mean, as of right now, we don't have too much else.
Too much movie news.
It's slowing down, which is typical around this time. But it'll be right back up here in a week or so, or no, about 2 weeks. I'm sure something will be announced.
Rampage, then. Oh, you're talking about just as far as news?
News, yeah.
Yeah, we should be getting some trailers.
Will happen, yeah.
We should be getting some trailer, maybe another Incredibles trailer before Avengers drops.
That's true. Yeah. That superhero. This year of the superhero. Every year is a year of the superhero now. But yeah, no, this was this week's podcast. We'll probably be unveiling our logo by the end of next week. The graphic designer is working on it as we speak. He said about 3 to 4 days, so hopefully I'll have it around Tuesday or Wednesday. And you'll probably keep update on the Twitter because it'll probably be right there first.
And we're going to start grinding on social media more.
Oh, yeah.
Both of us, we're kind of introverted people.
Yeah.
So we don't really like putting ourselves out there. But once we get the logo, we don't have to do Jamal and the Doll. We can do it as the Film Planet podcast.
Absolutely, yeah.
So you'll start seeing us more active on social media.
You'll start seeing threads, and then you might see our individual accounts pop up in a Film Planet podcast.
Yeah,
so
yeah. Trust me, we coming hard.
We'll ramp it up. We want this thing to be as big as possible, in the humblest of ways, not take over the world. But we want to make this thing really, really good and produce the best quality content, not just on the stream or in the podcast, but outside of that, so we can start talking to people more on Twitter and really just Twitter
and interact
more. But we'll see you guys again next week. Peace.